Iran-Israel breaking news live update. Ireland has joined the genocide case against Israel in response to the Israeli airstrike that resulted in the deaths of 12 students at a school in Gaza City. The attack on the al-Shati refugee camp resulted in the deaths of 12 Palestinians. The Irish Foreign Minister has announced that the country will support South Africa's case in the International Court of Justice. Civil Defense Agency in Gaza City has reported that an Israeli airstrike resulted in the deaths of 12 individuals at a school that served as a refuge for displaced individuals. According to Al Jazeera, the Israeli airstrike on a school in the al-Shati refugee camp, western of Gaza City, resulted in the deaths of 12 individuals, according to Gaza's Civil Defense Agency. The school was currently sheltering displaced individuals. The airstrike resulted in the deaths of 10 Palestinians, according to medical personnel. Summary of the day. Lebanon's health ministry reported that Israeli attacks have resulted in at least 53 fatalities and 161 injuries in the past day. This brings the total number of fatalities and injuries to 3,103 since October. An Israeli airstrike near an army checkpoint in the southern Lebanese city of Sidon resulted in the injuries of 3 Lebanese soldiers, according to the Syrian Arab Army. According to the army, 3 Lebanese citizens deceased during the bombardment. UNESCO, the cultural agency of the United Nations, has announced that it will convene a meeting on November 18 to evaluate the possibility of bolstering the protection of cultural sites in Lebanon amid the ongoing and lethal Israeli bombardment campaign. The UN cultural body stated that the session will evaluate the inclusion of Lebanese cultural properties on UNESCO's international list of sites under enhanced protection and the provision of additional funding. Following an appeal by more than 100 Lebanese legislators to UNESCO to guarantee the preservation of heritage sites in regions that have been extensively bombed by Israel in recent weeks, the announcement was made. According to Gaza's health ministry, Israeli airstrikes on Gaza have resulted in the deaths of 43,469 Palestinians and the injuries of 102,561 Palestinians since October 7, 2023. According to Gaza's Civil Defense Agency, an Israeli airstrike resulted in the deaths of at least 12 Palestinians at a school that served as a residence for displaced individuals in the al-Shati refugee camp in Gaza City. According to Ireland's Foreign Minister, Michael Martin, the country plans to participate in South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, by the end of the year. According to reports, the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, stated that the outcome of the U.S. election was irrelevant to his nation. Israel's military claimed that prior intelligence information and a situational assessment indicating the presence of terrorists and terrorist infrastructure prompted the military to expand its ground offensive in Gaza. The military stated that troops began to operate in the area of Beit Lahia. In accordance with the broader package of U.S. aid that the outgoing Biden administration had authorized, the Israel Defense Ministry announced that it had executed an agreement with Boeing to acquire 25 next-generation F-15 fighter jets. Yoav Gallant, Israel's former defense minister, has reportedly stated that the army has successfully accomplished all of its objectives in Gaza and that Benjamin Netanyahu rejected a hostages-for-peace deal despite the counsel of his own security establishment. After 2 French gendarmes were momentarily apprehended by armed Israeli police, the French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot retreated from a visit to a holy site in Jerusalem that is under French control. Leon Panetta, the former CIA director and U.S. Defense Secretary, has predicted that Donald Trump will provide Benjamin Netanyahu with a blank check in the Middle East, potentially paving the way for an all-out conflict between Israel and Iran. Panetta expressed his belief that Trump, who won the presidential election this week and will assume office again in January, will essentially grant Netanyahu unrestricted authority in the Middle East. You have my sanction in whatever you choose to pursue, whoever you wish to pursue, and whatever you do. I mean, he essentially stated that prior to the election. Since Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7, 2018, the Israeli Prime Minister has presided over attacks on Iran and its assets as part of an escalating conflagration. According to reports, he and the President-elect of the United States conversed during the election campaign. On Wednesday, Netanyahu extended his congratulations to Trump following the confirmation of his victory over Kamala Harris. Teams of attorneys representing the wealthy and influential are attempting to prevent us from publishing stories that they do not wish for you to view. Lobby groups that are committed to discrediting the scientific community's consensus regarding the climate emergency and other established scientific disciplines. Our funding is opaque. States that are authoritarian and do not prioritize press freedom. In an effort to undermine democracy, malicious actors are disseminating disinformation online. Our editor is the sole individual who determines the content of The Guardian, which is funded by readers in Bangladesh, including yourself. We would be delighted to have you as a partner in our endeavor to disseminate independent, global journalism worldwide. The Israeli military's resumed assault on northern Gaza, which commenced on October 6, 2024, has resulted in the deaths of more than 1,500 Palestinians, according to the Health Ministry of Gaza. The Israeli army has slain over 1,500 Palestinians during its military operations in northern Gaza, Munir al-Bursh, the Director General of the Health Ministry, stated to the Anadolu news agency. In northern Gaza, the army continues to perpetrate atrocities and target civilians and shelters, resulting in fatalities in the context of a stretched healthcare system. Last month, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, initiated a new offensive in northern Gaza, which they claimed was intended to prevent Hamas militants from regrouping. In theory, the IDF has maintained complete control of the region since January. According to reports, Yoav Gallant claimed that the Israeli army has no further obligations in Gaza. According to reports, Yoav Gallant, the former defense minister of Israel, stated that the army had successfully accomplished all of its objectives in Gaza and that Benjamin Netanyahu had denied a hostages for peace agreement against the recommendation of his own security establishment. On Thursday, 2 days after Netanyahu terminated him, Gallant addressed the families of detainees. Following his remarks, Israeli media outlets promptly published them. There is no longer any activity available in Gaza. Channel 12 News reported that he had accomplished the most significant accomplishments. I am concerned that we are merely remaining in the area because there is an inclination to do so. He reportedly informed the families that the notion that Israel must remain in Gaza to establish stability was an inappropriate idea to jeopardize the lives of soldiers over.